I lost my job, and my first thought was, at least I have my family. But when I walked in, my wife's sister laughed. We all took a vote. You're the weak link. My wife handed me a list of rules if I wanted to stay. Rule 1, no speaking at dinner. Rule 2, no complaining. Rule 3, leave if you cry. I followed all 3 until the night I finally didn't. I'm not a perfect man, but I've always shown up. For my wife. For my kids. For work. Always. My name's Ryan. I'm 42. I live just outside Topeka, Kansas, in a 2-story ranch-style house I paid for, repaired, cleaned, and filled with furniture I bought over the years. That house used to feel like home. Not anymore. It started when I lost my job. I was let go from my job as a dispatch manager at a trucking company I'd worked at for 11 years. I didn't mess up. It was a budget cut. I was one of the last in, first out. That's all. I came home early that day. I didn't want to make it a big deal. I figured we'd talk it through as a family. Maybe Megan, my wife, would hug me or at least ask if I was okay. Maybe the kids would say something like, "You'll find something else, Dad." That was the picture in my head. Instead, I opened the door and heard laughter. Danny, Megan's younger sister, was sitting at our kitchen island with a glass of wine. She looked straight at me, grinning like she already knew something. Then she said it. We all took a vote. You're the weak link. I laughed for a second. Thought it was a dumb joke. But she didn't stop smiling. That's when Megan walked over holding a piece of paper. She didn't say sorry. She didn't even hug me. She handed me the paper and said, "These are the rules if you're going to stay." That hit harder than getting fired. I looked at the paper. It wasn't long. Just this. Rules for Ryan: no speaking at dinner, no complaining, leave the room if you cry. At first I thought she was kidding. Some weird coping thing. She wasn't. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "We all need structure while you figure things out. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I looked at the couch, the one I spent late nights on when the kids were sick. I looked at the walls I painted by hand, the floor I laid after work, sweating through my back brace. And I nodded, because I didn't know what else to do. The first week I followed every rule. I stayed quiet at dinner. I listened while they talked about their days. Megan about work, HR at a tech company, Danny about her new diet, and the kids about school. Nobody asked me how I was doing. I washed dishes without being asked. I cleaned out the garage, thinking maybe that'd get me some goodwill. It didn't. Danny started staying the night more often. Said she needed space from her on-again, off-again boyfriend. But she was sleeping in my guest room, using my shower, wearing my hoodies. She didn't hide it. She was trying to push me out. One night, I overheard her talking to Megan in the hallway. "She's not going to leave him," Danny said. "She doesn't want to split the house." "She won't have to," Megan replied. "He's already halfway gone." They didn't know I was listening. I went into the garage, sat down, and cried. Then I walked back inside like nothing happened. I kept following the rules. Things got worse. Megan stopped saying good morning. She stopped looking at me like I mattered. I became invisible. Just a body who picked up the kids and took out the trash. Every time I tried to talk to her, she said, "Figure yourself out, Ryan. You're not the only one dealing with stress." One night, I brought up a job I was applying for, not even bragging, just trying to make small talk, and she cut me off. "Can you not talk about yourself all the time?" she snapped. That was my one sentence that day. By the third week, I wasn't eating at the table. I sat at the kitchen counter behind them, like a dog waiting for scraps. They'd laugh. Sometimes they'd say things like, "He's still here," right in front of me. Danny started making little jabs every time she saw me. "Oh, look, the house husband's still unemployed." Once, she told me she used my razor because hers was dull. I didn't even respond. Just went to my room. I started sleeping in the garage some nights. Said it was to get space. Truth was, I couldn't stand hearing them laugh at night. I thought about leaving, but I couldn't leave my kids. I didn't want them thinking I ran off. Then came that night. Sunday. Dinner. Megan made roast chicken. Danny brought her new boyfriend, Troy, a loud guy who talked about his vape business like it was Google. I sat at the far end of the table. No one looked at me. Then Troy leaned over and asked, "So, Ryan, what's it like being the house bitch?" The table went quiet. Danny laughed. Megan didn't say a word. That was it for me. I looked up and said, "What the hell is wrong with all of you?" Megan's eyes got big. She opened her mouth to speak, but I kept going. "I paid for this house. I supported this family. I've been sitting here, silent, letting you humiliate me. And for what? You think I'm nothing because I lost a job? That's who you are now. Danny rolled her eyes. You're embarrassing yourself. No, I said. You're embarrassing yourselves. You think this is strength? Sitting around mocking the man who supported your lifestyle for over a decade? Megan stood up. Get out. Now. You're done here. I stood too. I wasn't crying. I wasn't yelling. I was calm. I said, no. I'll go when I'm ready. And when I do, none of you are going to forget me. Then I walked upstairs, packed a bag, and left. I didn't have a plan yet, but I had a reason. And that's when everything started to change. After I left the house that night, I slept in my car in a Walmart parking lot. It was cold. I didn't even have a blanket. Just a hoodie, the bag I packed in 10 minutes, and my phone at 12% battery. I stared at the roof of the car for hours. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't think straight. The next morning, I checked my bank account. $311. That's all I had to my name. Most of it from DoorDash tips and what little was left from unemployment checks. Megan had closed the joint savings account 2 weeks before. Said it was simpler this way. It wasn't just a bad time. It was rock bottom. But something happened to me in that parking lot. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was shame. I stopped feeling like a victim and started thinking like a survivor. They wanted me to disappear. Instead, I decided to show them what happens when the weak link stops playing nice. I reached out to a guy I used to work with, Trent. He had moved to Kansas City last year. Said he could get me a temporary gig helping with warehouse inventory. I told him I'd take anything. I didn't even ask about pay. 2 days later, I was sleeping in a cot in the back of the warehouse. I worked 12-hour shifts, loading pallets, organizing shipments, doing anything they gave me. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet, peaceful, and slowly, I started saving. I didn't contact Megan. Not once. But I checked in on the kids through the school's parent portal. I could still see grades, attendance, lunch balances. Ella's grades were slipping. Ben missed 2 days without explanation. I knew something wasn't right, but I waited. I kept my head down and worked. I signed up for weekend computer classes at the library. I started applying to jobs again, real ones. Office jobs. Entry-level tech roles. Anything that could get me back on solid ground. Then something strange happened. About 6 weeks after I left, Megan emailed me. Just one line. We need to talk about bills and custody. Don't ignore this. Custody? I hadn't even filed anything. I thought she was trying to erase me. Now suddenly she wanted to talk? I didn't reply right away. I waited 3 days. Then I wrote back. Let's meet in person. Public place. We met at a coffee shop near the house. She showed up in full makeup, nice clothes, acting like nothing ever happened. Like we were just two people sorting out life stuff. She even smiled. So, here's where I'm at, she said, flipping open a folder. The house is in my name now. I had the title transferred. Since you've been gone for over 30 days, Kansas considers that abandonment. I talked to a lawyer. I stared at her. Where are the kids? I asked. She blinked. They're fine. They don't ask about you. That was a lie. I could see it in her eyes. I said nothing. Let her keep going. I'm not going after you for child support if you sign over custody. I think it's cleaner that way. Less court. I nodded. You said you wanted to talk about bills too. She laughed. Well, Danny moved in officially. She helps. I'm just asking you to stop putting the utilities in your name. It's confusing for the electric company. That was it. That's what this whole meeting was for. Not the kids. Not the marriage. Paperwork. I stood up, leaned in close, and said, I'll sign whatever you want. But when I come back, and I will come back, just remember, I gave you the chance to leave with dignity. She rolled her eyes. You're not coming back, Ryan. She was wrong. 2 weeks later, I had a new job. Admin assistant at a distribution center in Kansas City. It wasn't glamorous, but it came with health insurance, a 401k, and a steady paycheck. I found a cheap one-bedroom in Independence, Missouri, rented furniture off Facebook Marketplace, and started over. I even got a used laptop and started documenting everything. Dates, times, screenshots, emails, bank transfers, phone logs. Every insult, every rule she wrote. I kept it all. Then I got lucky. I ran into an old neighbor from Topeka, Mrs. Granger. Sweet older lady who used to walk her dog past our house every morning. She pulled me aside and said, Your kids keep asking where you are. Ella cried on my porch last week. Megan told them you abandoned them. Said you ran off with some woman. I felt my chest tighten. I thanked her, got her number, and promised to stay in touch. That night, I wrote a long, honest letter to both of my kids. I didn't bash their mother. I didn't rant. I just told them the truth. That I loved them, that I was working hard to come back stronger, and that I never left them. I left the situation. I mailed it through Mrs. Granger. She slid it under their bedroom doors while Megan was out with Danny. 3 days later, Ella called me from her friend's phone. "Dad," she whispered. "Hey, sweetheart." She broke down crying. "Why did you leave us?" I told her everything. Not the mean parts. Just the truth. That I lost my job and they stopped treating me like family. That I had to go, but I never stopped thinking about her or Ben. That I'd be back. I could hear her breathing. Then she said something I'll never forget. "Aunt Danny told me you were dead." I didn't sleep that night. I called a lawyer the next morning. It was time to stop surviving and start fighting. I wasn't just going to come back. I was going to take everything they thought they'd stolen from me, and then some. The lawyer's name was Calvin Reed. Older guy, mid-50s, ran a small private office just outside Lee's Summit. He didn't dress fancy or talk fast. That's why I liked him. I sat across from him with a folder of everything I'd gathered, screenshots, bank logs, notes I wrote down after every fight, the rules list Megan gave me. I even had voice memos I'd started recording in the garage. You'd be surprised how much you can catch when people think you're broken and quiet. Calvin went through everything slowly, asked real questions. Didn't sugarcoat it. After about an hour, he looked me in the eye and said, "We can work with this." She thought she was playing chess. She didn't realize you were paying attention. He explained Kansas law. The whole, "you abandoned the home," line she tried to push. Turns out that doesn't mean much when it's proven that you were emotionally abused and driven out. The joint savings she drained? If we can prove it was marital property, she's going to owe me half. And the custody lie? That's where it gets interesting. Calvin said something that stuck with me. You're not fighting for revenge. You're fighting for your kids. But that doesn't mean we can't burn a few bridges on the way. We filed immediately. Megan didn't see it coming. The first thing she got was a formal custody request. Not a visitation plan. A full custody claim, citing emotional neglect, hostile home environment, manipulation, and false information being given to the children. We included Ella's phone call and a statement from Mrs. Granger. That alone made things serious. I also filed for spousal support. Yeah, it felt weird at first, but Calvin was clear. She humiliated you, took over your house, turned your kids against you. If roles were reversed, she'd already have your paycheck in her account. Then we froze the accounts. Every account Megan had with my name still on it, utility, cell phone plan, car insurance. I either closed, flagged for fraud, or notified the companies I wasn't responsible anymore. She got locked out of Wi-Fi for 3 days. Danny's car was towed because the insurance was under my name, and I pulled it. The messages started pouring in. Blocked them all. Then the twist I wasn't expecting hit. Danny contacted my mom. Called her out of the blue, crying. Told her I was having a mental health spiral. Claimed I was trying to destroy Megan's life out of bitterness. Luckily, my mom already knew what was happening. She'd been one of the only people who believed me right away. She told Danny to go to hell. But it showed me something important. They were rattled. Megan went from acting like I was a ghost to blowing up Calvin's office phone. She wanted to resolve things amicably. That was the moment I realized I finally had the upper hand. 3 weeks later, we met for mediation. She came and dressed like she was heading to church. Danny wasn't with her this time, probably too scared of getting subpoenaed. Megan kept her eyes down at first, but the second the mediator asked about the house, her voice went sharp. I refinanced it. It's under my name now. Calvin smiled, leaned forward, and slid a file across the table. Here's the money trail showing it was paid for entirely by joint income. And here's a copy of the rules list your client gave my client as a condition for staying in that same house. The mediator raised her eyebrows. Megan went pale. We weren't playing defense anymore. We were hitting back, and hard. I watched her unravel. Every lie she told. Every time she laughed in my face. Every cruel joke she and Danny whispered when they thought I wasn't listening. It was all being dragged into the light. Then Calvin did something brilliant. He pulled out Ella's handwritten statement. It wasn't long. Just a few lines she wrote with her own pen. I thought my dad left because he didn't love us. Now I know the truth. He left because he was being hurt. You could hear a pin drop. Megan looked like she'd been punched in the chest. She tried to recover, said I manipulated Ella, that I was turning the kids against her. But it was too late. The mediator wasn't buying it. Everything changed after that meeting. The next hearing is scheduled in 2 weeks. We're pushing for 50-50 custody, but I'm not stopping there. Calvin thinks we have enough leverage to request exclusive residential rights, meaning Megan would have to hand over the house or move out. Danny too. The courts don't like kids living in hostile homes. And I've got statements, audio, and even a few texts from Ella showing how toxic things got. I'm not stopping until I've taken back everything. I lost my job. I lost my dignity. I almost lost my kids. Now they're starting to see who I really am. The court hearing was on a Wednesday morning in late April. It was gray outside. Cold rain. My stomach was tight the whole drive, but I was calm, focused, not scared anymore. Megan showed up with a different lawyer this time. Someone slick, probably more expensive. She had her hair done, full makeup, wearing the same fake smile she used the day she handed me that list of rules. But this time, I had truth on my side. The judge was a woman in her 60s. Firm. No nonsense. Didn't have time for games. She read through the statements and the evidence. My lawyer walked the court through each part like clockwork. The abusive environment, the kids being lied to, Megan trying to cut me off from my own home after I'd paid for it. He showed proof of the rules, the bank accounts, the calls with Ella, the witness statement from Mrs. Granger. Then came the part about Danny. We submitted screenshots showing how often she stayed at the house, how she moved in, used my clothes, and even took over my room. We had a signed letter from another neighbor who said Danny told people I left in shame. The judge read it twice. Then my lawyer showed the judge this message Danny sent to my mom. He's unstable and trying to destroy Megan. He's dangerous. Then he showed the audio file I'd secretly recorded from the garage one night. Megan and Danny laughing, planning how to make me leave so they could get the house clean. That was the tipping point. The judge looked straight at Megan and said, "Did you ever consider the impact this would have on your children?" Megan started to speak, but the judge cut her off. "I'm not interested in spin. I'm interested in stability and safety for the kids. And based on this, I'm granting the father temporary sole custody, pending review. The children will reside with him starting next week." Megan gasped. "You're taking my kids away?" "No," the judge said. "You did that yourself." I walked out of the courtroom feeling like a new man. But I wasn't finished. I didn't want just the kids. I wanted the house, the truth, and justice. We filed a civil claim for the half of the home's equity she tried to keep when she forged the refinancing behind my back. Since she couldn't afford to pay out my half in cash, the judge gave her one choice: either buy me out in 90 days or sell the house and split the proceeds. That house didn't sell because I let every neighbor in that block know the full story. I posted the rules for Ryan list online in a support group for men going through divorce and emotional abuse. It went viral. Local news picked it up when someone anonymously submitted it with a write-up. The title? "Laid-off husband given rules to stay in home, ends up winning it all." The comments were brutal. People figured out who Megan and Danny were. Screenshots of their social media started spreading. Danny lost her job at the local dental office when patients started canceling appointments and complaining about her behavior. Megan's work wasn't far behind. HR reps don't survive bad PR, and when she tried to play victim, her own coworkers leaked Slack messages showing how she mocked me during lunch breaks. She got fired. Then something happened that almost made me feel bad. Almost. Megan sent me a long email. It was half apology, half begging. She said she was scared, that she didn't mean for things to go this far, that Danny had gotten in her head, and she was just overwhelmed. She wanted shared custody. She said she missed the kids. You know what I did? I let her visit. Supervised. At first. But I made her meet me in the same coffee shop where she once told me to give up custody completely. And I brought the same piece of paper she gave me when I lost my job. I slid it across the table. Rules for Megan if she wants TOC the kids. No lying to them, no talking bad about me, leave immediately if you cry. She stared at it. Didn't say a word. Then she looked up and whispered, "You're not the man I married." I leaned back and said, "No, I'm not. He died the night you laughed in his face. The kids are with me now. Ella is in therapy and doing better. Ben's playing baseball again. We eat dinner together every night. No silence. No rules. Just respect." Megan had to move in with her parents. Danny? No one knows. She disappeared from social media after her boss wrote a public post about toxicity in the workplace. I heard from someone she's working nights at a gas station in Emporia. As for me, I still live in that same house. My name's back on the deed. I got promoted at work. Even started dating someone kind, patient, a woman who asks me how my day was. I don't speak of Megan or Danny much anymore, but I keep that list they gave me. The rules. Framed. Hung right by the front door. So I never forget what they tried to do. And how far I've come since the day they all voted me out.